Hello, everyone. My name is Brad Chamberlain from HPE, formerly Cray, and I am the ISC 2021 Research Papers Chair. Today, I'll be giving you a brief overview of some of the research papers that you'll be able to hear about at ISC online this summer. This is an overview of the research papers altogether. We have 24 research papers that we'll be presenting to you at ISC. Those authors represent 40 institutions. Each paper will receive 25 minutes, and 15 to 20 minutes of that will be spent on the talks. Those will typically be pre-recorded. And then the remainder of the time will be spent for questions and answer. And we know how hard it can be in these distributed formats to get good interaction. So we really want to encourage everyone who's attending to think of good questions and bring them forward to the authors so that we have good interactivity in these sessions. There will be 8 sessions over the course of the week, starting on Monday, June 28th, going through Thursday, July 1st. And each session will contain 3 papers. So on Monday, we've got a session on evaluating performance portability. On Tuesday, we've got 2 sessions about mapping computations down to systems in the first session, and then novel processor types in the second. On Wednesday, we've got a session on communication analysis and optimization, a session on GPU computing, and then a session on the design and architecture of novel accelerators. And then on Thursday, we'll have a session on networks, and we'll wrap up with a session on performance monitoring and prediction. If you're not already familiar with it, an important component of ISC is the Hans Meuer Award. This award is given to the most outstanding research paper that was submitted to the conference, as selected by the Program Committee and the Best Papers Committee. The award was named in memory of Dr. Hans Meuer, who was the general chair of the ISC conference from 1986 through 2014, and he was also one of the co-founders of the Top 500 project. Now, each of the tracks to which research papers are submitted, we're able to nominate 1 or 2 papers as candidates for the best paper, and then those papers were considered in terms of technical depth, novelty, realization, and impact to the ISC and HPC community. I'd like to tell you who the winner was, but we're going to save that announcement for ISC 2021 itself. And it's also worth noting for future years that this award comes with a cash prize this year of 3,000 euros. So a nice incentive to write and submit the best paper you can. Next, I'm going to go through each of the different sessions in just a little bit of detail. You'll see in each of these slides the titles of the papers, the presenting author, their role, and their institution. And I'm just going to give the very briefest summary of each session, and I want to apologize in advance because I'm sure I'm going to be oversimplifying the contributions of these papers. This first session on Monday is about evaluating performance portability. And this is, of course, very important and challenging, particularly as the number and type of architectures that people are targeting grow. So each of these papers is very interesting. Over the course of them, they study a number of different parallel programming models and container systems targeting a large, diverse number of architectures. Our first session on Tuesday is about mapping computations down to systems. In the first talk, we'll hear about the mapping of a breadth-first search computation down to Fugaku. In the second one, we'll look at a streaming computation on the Lucada migrating thread architecture. And the third looks at a biomechanics application mapped down to Amos and Seawolf. Our second session on Tuesday will be about targeting novel processor types. The first one looks at the Graph Core Intelligence Processing Unit. The second on the Intel Programmable Integrated Unified Memory Architecture. And the third on the NEC Vector Engine. Our first session on Wednesday will look at communication, optimization, and analysis. In the first paper, we have a novel shuffle and transpose algorithm. The second looks at the modeling of idle waves in computations and the relationship to communication patterns. And the third one uses low precision gradients to reduce communication costs in deep learning. We've got a GPU session as well on Wednesday. In the first session, we're looking at distributed sparse block grids that are useful for volumetric computations and mapping those across 1 or more GPUs. The second talk is about a ROCm-aware MPI implementation for AMD GPUs. And the third one is about determining the optimal ratio of GPUs versus CPUs in system procurements. Then our last session on Wednesday is actually about the design and architecture of novel accelerators. The first talks about a high throughput accelerator for irregular workloads. The second for a hardware-assisted accelerator for hierarchical task scheduling. And the third one is a novel architecture for number theoretic transforms as modeled in an FPGA. Our first session on Thursday is about networks. The first talk is about a configurable high-radix router for exascale computing. The second is about an MPI implementation that's been tuned for the Bluefield SmartNICs from Mellanox. And the third is a quality of service implementation that can be used for Dragonfly-like networks. And then our final session on Thursday will be a performance monitoring and prediction session. The general themes of this session are essentially making performance analysis and tuning much easier than it is today through themes like automation and always-on monitoring and using machine learning to help diagnose and tune things. So once again, I'm Brad Chamberlain for ISC 2021. I want to thank all of the authors who submitted and are presenting work at ISC 2021. I'd also like to thank the members of the Research Papers Committee, and particularly the track chairs and co-chairs for all of the hard work reviewing the papers, helping to improve them, and helping to select the best paper. I'd like to thank my co-chair, Ana Lucia Varbanescu, for all of her help in this process. And finally, I'd like to thank the ISC group for their ongoing support of this effort. We couldn't do it without you. So thanks very much. And again, we'll see you online this June for ISC 2021.